going on, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences DFS show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. It's Wednesday, September 10th, 7-game baseball slate on our hands. A little early action as well. And joined as always on Wednesday afternoons by Stats. How you doing on this Wednesday afternoon, Stats?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Ready to get into it. We got early on FanDuel. We usually don't talk much FanDuel, but we do have an early slate starting on FanDuel, or early main slate, I should say. And this has been this is like playing NBA for MLB this week, because with all these West Coast starting times, has not been fun. Like last night we had a 7:15 game, and then no game started until after 8. Most of them were after 9. So on the East Coast, that is. So that's not the most fun for me. I like when everything's at 7 o'clock. We get all the lineups in, and we're off to the races. But we'll deal with it here, I guess, probably just for another day, and then maybe we'll have a few less West Coast games this weekend. I don't know. I haven't looked.
Yeah, I haven't looked either. It does seem like it's like the most or highest percentage of West Coast games that we've seen for these last couple slates. Nothing we can't deal with, and you and I talked the current political events going on. We're gonna keep it off the show. Just doesn't seem like the place,
Yeah, definitely not the platform, but just hopefully everyone is keeps their heads about them. It's not a good situation for no matter what side of the fence you're on.
Not at all. I always tongue in cheek laugh when there's like crazy shit going on in the world, and it's like, these are the waiver wire dollar pickups that you should pick up all over X. So, I don't want to be the guy completely ignoring what's going on, but this is a baseball DFS show. That's what people are here for, and that's what we'll discuss here. I'll keep my political thoughts to my own personal X account. So with that, Stats, let's get to these games. We do start off in Yankee Stadium, Yankees and Tigers. One of many good pitchers going tonight. Carlos Rodon, strong season, of course, for the Yankees, throwing from the left side. Kind of a noted, for whatever reason, Rodon fader, hater, whatever word you want to call for it. I just don't play him as much as most people do. He's been good, no doubt about it. Not a lot of huge games, but no question he's in play here, 9,200 against the Tigers. A lot of right-handers in the lineup, slightly negative for Rodon, but yeah, I still think one of the top options on what I think, Stats, is a very, very strong pitching slate overall. So feel better on this slate than I do on most about probably going a different direction than Rodon myself. And then Jack Flaherty going for the Tigers, also good pitcher, has had 2 rough outings in his last 3 and I think 5 in his last 6. Still am mostly a believer in Flaherty, although, the season-long numbers for him on a good team do not look great. ERA close to 5, he's 7-13. And I do think we'll get low-owned Yankees here against Flaherty. We've done a lot of shows this year, Stats, on the MLB streets, and both of us are almost always higher on the Yankees than the field is. Same thing, at least for me tonight. Give me some of this Yankees power, particularly swinging from the left side. They've got a lot of it, pretty much the whole lineup, especially 1 through 6. I'll throw in Ryan McMahon, too, swinging a pretty good bat from the 9-hole, cheap as well. I like these Yankees lefties in particular, and probably not going too many Tigers, even though I'm not on the Rodon train. What do you see, Stats, from Yankees and Tigers to kick off the slate?
Yeah, so I guess we'll start off with the pitching. I mean, Rodon, I agree. It's a really strong pitching slate. So while I think Rodon's a pretty good option here, I've still got him ranked as the 5th best overall for the slate. That's just how many good pitchers we have here. You've got a guy who can get you an inning, K per inning plus, which is always a benefit that we're looking for. It can be a little wild at times, but like I said, he's my 5th strongest or 5th best option here on the slate, with Flaherty down as the 9th best option. Flaherty, too, really strong upside here for strikeouts. So, I mean, while I have him ranked 9th, excuse me, there is plenty of upside where Flaherty can get you some strikeouts on the slate. So I wouldn't totally object to using him. I think where we're concerned with Flaherty is how deep is he going to go in this game, and of course the projections here for the Yankees are to score some runs in this one. The earned runs against here for Flaherty is one of the highest projected on the slate. If you look at the props, Rodon 5.5 Ks, and that's heavily juiced to the over. 17.5 outs for him, and then Flaherty, as I mentioned, it's got the same K prop primarily, pretty much just about the same. It's juiced to the over, not quite as much as Rodon, 5.5 Ks, but only 14.5 outs, which is juiced to the over. So I think that's the biggest difference in both of these guys here tonight. But I agree with you on bats. I think Yankees bats are strong here tonight. Maybe my favorite stack of the night. So I like most of these Yankee bats. Judge, Stanton, right at the top with Jazz, lefty, righty. I mean, yes, I like the lefty bats, Bellinger, Grisham, Rice, but of course, Stanton and Judge always a possibility for the Dong. So I like them as well. So I really like Yankee stacks is one of my favorites tonight. Detroit stacks, not quite as much. I think you can play them maybe as a secondary stack, obviously in your non-Rodon lineups. And like I said, we've got plenty of good pitchers on here, but I think we got some better options maybe than the Detroit bats.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Detroit bats. These Yankees bats, is this ownership? Is that what you're seeing as well? I mean, 5% on these guys against Flaherty. I mean, sign me up, right?
That's the thing. Yeah, I mean, it happens every night. Not every night, but a lot of these nights. I mean, look, Yankee bats are always going to have potential. They've got a highly explosive offense. You've always got the potential for the boom. That's what the whole boom report was created for. Which of these batters and which of these teams have chance to really explode? And it doesn't necessarily matter. Matter of fact, we like it when they're in there, maybe against a pitcher that is going to get some ownership, because now we get some leverage against the field and we get some tournament edge. So those aren't necessarily bad things. And the Yankees tend to come up a lot because of that fact on the boom report. But yeah, I like Yankee bats here, and yeah, they're going to be one of my primary targets for the night.
Yeah, I'm guessing these Yankees bats are going to end up pretty high on the boom report overall. And if these ownerships hold true, I would assume maybe even higher on the tournament strength score with low ownership, high upside against Jack Flaherty. So might have to be in on the Yankees, at least one-offs, right? You don't necessarily need to go super crazy with the Yankees, but I do think if they get there, as usual with the Bronx Bombers, it will be with the power. Let's move to the next game on the slate. It is the Houston Astros and Toronto Blue Jays. Getting harder and harder, by the way, stats, not to make the NFL mistake, right? Houston Texans. We're in it's tough. We're in NFL mode, so forgive me if I speak incorrectly on that. But yeah, it is Houston Astros, not Texans, against the Blue Jays. Jose Barrios going for Toronto. I mean, yeah, we've seen him. Feels like he's been the same pitcher for the last decade. Jose Barrios. He is usable in good matchups. Not a terrible one here. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see him pitch decently well. I would be pretty surprised to see him put up a slate breaking or must needed score from Barrios. He just doesn't do it very often. Doesn't seem like the spot against a fairly low strikeout Astros team. And then Jason Alexander. I've definitely been picking on him, or trying to pick on him quite a bit, especially with left-handed bats. Honestly, for the most part, he's pitched pretty well. If you look at the game log, he's held it in check for the last 4, 5, 6 outings, has Alexander. I'm still not really a believer in him, but it does have me at least shying away somewhat on the Toronto stack. Still think they're in play, just, maybe jumping off now at the wrong time. We'll see. But yeah, Alexander has held his own, and especially against right-handed hitters. Stats, what are you doing with Blue Jays and Astros here?
Yeah, let's look at the pitching first. Barrios have got at the 6th best pitcher on the slate, right behind Rodon. Obviously, a much cheaper price tag than Rodon, but we don't get the strikeout potential I think you get there with the Rodon. So you look at the prop market, 4.5 Ks, juiced to the under, 17.5 outs, juiced under. And then you look at Alexander, just 3.5 Ks. I've got him as the weakest pitcher here on the slate, 15.5 outs, and his K number is juiced the under. So we really don't. He's probably the worst strikeout pitcher here on the slate. That is Alexander. So really don't want to target him. I think you can play a little bit of Berrios. I think your upside is kind of capped here. Like you said, just not a great strikeout team. Neither one of these teams really are great to kind of pick on for strikeouts, I don't believe here. So, then we get to the bats. And I think both of these teams are going to project out fairly similar for me offensively on the Boom Report, which will, of course, I'll post it once the show ends. But Toronto bats, I do prefer over the Houston side. You look at the Toronto side, it's Varsho, Springer, and Guerrero really leading the charge here for me on Toronto. Barger as well, right there. And then you get we've got Lurpafito at the 2K, and I mean you've got some pop and speed there for a guy at the bare min price. So really, I like that. I like using him in, and we've got a lot of pitchers here that we might have to pay up for tonight. So I don't mind that play there, using them in maybe secondary stacks, or if you do want to play them as your main stack, I've got no problem with Toronto 5-man stacks also. So getting that sort of free square in there is nice, and we could pay up elsewhere and get some of those more expensive bats and pitchers in there. So that's nice. I think a little benefit to playing Toronto.
Yeah. We've seen Toronto, just thrash mediocre pitching, which I certainly think Jason Alexander qualifies for that. So again, I do prefer the lefties. Barger, my main target with Toronto. Lurpafito makes a ton of sense, even with some pinch at risk at the low price point. Swinging from the left side, I do like that call as well. And then, like I mentioned, mostly just not going to have Berrios, but I mean, do you have Astros bats that you're particularly looking at?
Yeah, Alvarez. Obviously, Alvarez is right up at the top. He's really the top player in this entire game, has the highest projected possibility here for a home run, with Walker not too far behind. So those are your two really best bats, with Sanchez as well at 3,700. Those three bats are going to rate out fairly high tonight. Diaz at 3,100, not a bad price, and Carlos Correa also. I think you could play 5-man Houston stacks. Like I said, both of these teams kind of really look very similar numbers-wise for me tonight. I do lean a little bit more on the Toronto side, but if you want to play Houston, you'll probably get a little bit more leverage, although I don't really expect either one of these pitchers to get all that much ownership.
Yeah, it looks like pretty significant ownership on these Astros bats. Jordan up at 20%. Some guys double digits as well. To me, these numbers feel a little bit too high against Berrios, but I do get it going up against a mediocre pitcher. Let's move on to the Cubs and the Braves. This one in Truist Park in Atlanta. It will be Chris Sale thrown from the left side for the Braves. Talked a lot about him in his last start. That was with JT. JT did express, I think, warranted concern about Sale's pitch count. My point, stats was like, Braves nothing to pay for, but to me, Sale's one of those guys. I think he kind of gets to decide on his own what he's going to do out there. Like, he probably has like more sway than the manager at this point in the organization. So I wasn't really concerned about the pitch count for Sale in that start, and I'm not here either. I know the matchup here against the Cubs is on paper, it doesn't look that great. They do have some good bats, but I'm just on the Sale train now. Even if you go back to his last 5, 6, 7 starts before the fluke rib injury, he just dove for a ground ball, and since he weighed 130 pounds, broke his rib. Wasn't an arm injury. Comes back, looks great the first 2 starts back. I'm projecting Sale as if he's at the very, very peak of his powers, which I think he is. No concerns for me with Chris Sale. I think he's a good option here for sure against the Cubs. One of my top options. And then Jameson Taillon going for the Cubs has pitched, I think, better than expected this year. If you look at the season-long game log, he's had a lot of good matchups, I just remember playing him like reluctantly because he's pitching in Wrigley with the wind blowing in, so many times this year. So I do think Taillon's season-long stats at this point are a little bit overrated, I guess would be the word that I'll use. And then I kind of like this Braves offense against him coming alive a little bit in the second half of the year. So mostly Braves for me. Big on sale. Like the Braves stack. Over to you, Stats. I got to step out for a second. I'll be back in a moment.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree with you here. I think this is a sale game or a Braves game. And I don't have any concern with Sale as far as how deep he'll go into this game. As a matter of fact, I think he's got one of the, if not the highest outs number in the prop market. So 18.5 outs is his prop. It is juiced to the under. If you look at his strikeout total, 6.5 juiced to the over. Go down to Taillon, only 13.5 outs, 3.5 strikeouts. So we're not really going to be targeting Jameson Taillon here at all. But yeah, I do like Sale. He is the most expensive pitcher on the slate at 10K, but I think a tremendous amount of upside. So I've got him fourth ranked on the slate here tonight, just because I think it's just a really strong slate. If you look offensively, I really don't want to touch the Cubs. Yes, you're going to get some leverage against the starting pitcher, but we want to use that in spots that we think are where the offense just is projecting to do a little bit better. Typically, I like to do that against the cheaper pitching that is getting high ownership just because of price. That's not the case that you have here with Sale. So I really don't want to target against them. But on the other side with the Braves, Acuna, Olsen, Albies, Baldwin, Kim, all of those guys really at the top. You're getting decent prices with Kim at 3,200. You got Azuna at the 3,600. A lot of players here at the 4K or less for Atlanta that I like. Harris, another one. So I think you can play Atlanta stacks. Not my favorite, but they are in the mix for me. They're in the pool. 5-man Atlanta stacks. I'm going to stay away from Cub stacks.
I'm certainly with you on the Cubs. Out on the Cubs. But yeah, like these ownerships for me for the Atlanta feel okay. Nobody wants to pay the 5K price tag for Profar, which I get given his long track record. But man, he's been awesome in the second half of the year. If he's really going to be super low on at 5K, I do think Profar pretty good play as well. And yeah, I kind of like this Braves team overall. Glad to see you're on board with that for the most part. Let's go to the White Sox for the Rays and Chicago. This one at right field. In Chicago, should be mild weather here. A little bit of wind blowing in. It'll be Sean Burke going for the White Sox here. Pulling up ownership, I assume. Little to no ownership on 12%. Okay, a little bit higher than I expected. I guess that 5,500 price tag appealing to some people. Not really me, but maybe you'll make the case for Sean Burke. Tampa Bay going to go with a bullpen game. Griffin Jacks will start the game for Tampa. He'll be a one-inning guy. He hasn't pitched more than one inning, I don't think, the entire season. And then I guess Joe Rock scheduled for the long relief here. Unless you've got something on Mr. Rock for me, Stats. He's not on my list at all. I think I'm out on Burke here too, but talk to me, Sean Burke, Rays and White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could be kind of quick with the pitching. Not going to be touching anything on that Tampa side. Burke, you can look at his numbers. I mean, 5,500. That's about what's keeping him out of being the worst pitcher on my sheet. I've actually got him above talent just because of the fact that it's 5,500, and he has a better strikeout per K per inning number. So I actually like prefer him over Taillon.
I do agree with that, but I'm not playing either.
But I'm not playing either. I'm not playing either one of them, just in case you want to get it. You want to jump in there. I have more confidence there than I do in the Taillon. But yeah, 4.5 Ks for Burke, juice to the under with 14.5 outs. That's his numbers there in the betting markets. But yeah, I think you could look. I don't love this game either way. I certainly don't like anything on the White Sox side. I would look if you want to take some of these Tampa bats, certainly playable. I think more so secondary stacks. They are a little expensive. Caminero, Lau, and Lowe. Those are the three top guys here on my sheet. You could throw Chandler Simpson in there, but I like using Simpson. I mean, he's got such a high, just the high stolen base probabilities I love having him more in the in stacks. You can use him in a one-off also, but 4,400. I typically like getting the power bats in those one-off spots, even secondary stacks. So if you're gonna play Tampa 5-man stacks, then I would throw Simpson in there for sure. But just not enough. Certainly not enough White Sox bats that I'm interested in. And on the Tampa side, I think it's just I'm gonna really pick and choose of those 4 guys that I just mentioned to have them in my lineups, but not one of the games I'm really targeting heavily.
I'm with you. That's Tampa Bay and the White Sox. We'll move to the next game on the slate. We are halfway through the slate. It's a good time to remind everybody, hit the like button if you're watching this MLB show. Got a lot of people watching here on Wednesday. Not a lot else going on, at least in the sports world. So good to see everybody in here enjoying the baseball show. Again, hit that like button for us. It does help us out. And of course, stats. We got the Millie Maker winner over at Run Pure Sports.
Yes.
A lot of those coming down the pipe, we hope, for the NFL season. Everything you need over at Run Pure Sports, MLB, NFL, and otherwise as we prepare for what it's going to be a fantastic season for the NFL streets over at Run Pure Sports. Join us. Use promo code RPS15 for a discount on your first payment. Let's jump to the West Coast. 3 games to talk about. First one we'll go to is the Cincinnati Reds, San Diego Padres. 2 pretty good pitchers going here. Nick Pivetta throwing from the right side for the Padres. Really strong matchup for him against the Reds. Anytime you get the Reds outside of Great American Ballpark, it's a good spot for the pitcher going against him. I think Pivetta, one of the safer pitchers on the slate, certainly in play for me at that $9K price tag. Abbott, I think, is an okay play here too. Not really a strong believer in his ability to continue his season-long success, but we're a couple weeks out from the season here. Abbott has pitched well. I just generally don't take many pitchers against the Padres, and I'll probably stick to that for the most part tonight with Abbott. But yeah, I could see him pitching well. Another game where I'm very much picking and choosing bats, if anything, in this one in San Diego. I think there are better spots to get to. Stats, what are you doing with Reds and Padres?
Yeah, so Pivetta, one of the top 3 pitchers, I think, on the slate at that price of $9K. Excuse me, of the top 4 pitchers, top 5 pitchers, really, that I have, including Rodon there at 5th. He is the cheapest one at $9K. So we've got some expensive options here tonight, which is why getting maybe some of these cheaper bats in there when you can will be helpful. On the other side, yeah, Abbott, I agree with your assessment. Okay, I think is exactly where you would say. I've got him right in the middle of the pack as well, which that just screams okay. And yeah, you could play him, but I don't love I don't like his K per inning number that we're getting here from him. You look at the prop markets, 4.5 Ks, juice to the under for Abbott, 17.5 outs, which is fine. Pavetta's got that same 17.5 outs, juice to the over, and his 6.5K prop is slightly juiced to the over. So we like that number there. Pivetta is going to be one of the top K per inning pitchers here on this slate. Doesn't walk a lot of batters, so I really like him, especially in this ballpark. I like Pivetta quite a bit tonight, so I'm going to be staying away from Cincinnati bats for the most part here. And then I agree with what you said there, San Diego. I think it's kind of a pick and choose. I mean, maybe I'm going to have some Cincinnati, some Ellie, some Marte, something like that in there, but it's not going to be heavy. I'm just going to sprinkle in a few. I'm sure I'll be underneath the market. And then on the San Diego side, Machado, Tatis, Laureano, it's just not going to be many of these guys. I don't typically like to play a lot of bats in that ballpark. I think we got 2 pitchers here that we don't necessarily want to target in that park either. So yeah, it's going to be very light for me outside of Pivetta on this game for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see one or maybe a few big games combined from the Padres and Reds bats, but I would be pretty surprised to see either of these full stacks end up on the winner. So I think you're trying to pick off individual bets, like you mentioned. Ellie De La Cruz, always a threat. Machado, Tatis, Laureano, I think are all okay plays, but I would express some caution going full in on hitters in San Diego on the slate. Let's go to Seattle for the Mariners and the Cardinals. It'll be Logan Gilbert going for Seattle here. You sound like a broken record, certainly at this point in the season, talking about Seattle pitchers pitching at home, but it is a thing, and it is a thing for Logan Gilbert tonight, who also gets one of the better matchups that a right-handed pitcher can have going up against Cardinals offense, certainly cratered down the stretch. Gilbert joins the ranks for me, stats, on a very strong top end of pitching slate. Write my article, DC's cheat sheet, every day for MLB subscribers, Run Pure Sports subscribers. I didn't come up with any cheap pitcher to recommend today. I think maybe for the first time all season, partly because the good pitchers, the expensive pitchers look so good, and obviously partly because the cheap options do not. But yeah, Gilbert, I mean, put him right in the mix for me with Sale, who we've talked about, Nick Pivetta, who we've talked about. I'm a little bit lower on Rodon, but I still think he's a better option than any of the cheap guys. To me, this looks like a slate to spend on pitching, including on Logan Gilbert. Michael McGreevy going for the Cardinals here. Very average arm. He's had decent, real life results for the Cardinals so far. I don't think there's too much there with McGreevy. Good park to pitch in and not the worst matchup, but I still have a hard time clicking him. I will say he was the closest cheap pitcher to make my list. But still, I wasn't going to play any of these cheap guys on my own lineup, so I didn't recommend them in my article. What are you looking at stats with Mariners and Cardinals here?
Yeah, if we're going to say cheap is like, sub 7K, I agree with you. He's the closest one that you may want to play at 5,300. If you're building 150 lineups, I'm fine with it. I mean, I'm not going to do it. If you want to just throw a few in there just so you can get a little differentiation and maybe, just have some lineups, obviously, that are going to be a little stronger hitting wise, perhaps you could do it. I think the strategy here tonight is to limit these pitchers. There's just too many good pitchers, kind of limit it to those top guys, the Gilbert, Snell, Pivetta, Sale, and Rodon, and then take your chances.
Yep.
But, look, we've seen it before. That's why you play 150 lineups, to get a little bit more diverse. And, mixing in a guy at 5,300, it's not the worst thing in the world for at least what his projections are. If you can get it could be a night where 12 points from him actually gets it done. But you look at the betting markets, 3.5 Ks for him, in the prop market, 16.5 outs. So not lighting it up there, but the 16.5 outs for a $5,300 pitcher is not terrible on that projection. 7.5 Ks for Gilbert is his K prop. It is juiced to the under with 17.5 outs juiced to the over. So, I mean, in this ballpark, very rare that we want to play batters. There's no exception here tonight. I will have no bats in this lineup. Raleigh, of course, is always a potential play, but at the 6,200, I'll be limited on how much I get of Raleigh. But outside of that, I don't really foresee having too many bats on either side. Certainly not the St. Louis side. Maybe a couple of bats from Seattle, but not really, not much, not enough to really be worth speaking about.
Yeah, I'm with you. Camporeale, I think, always an elite play, including tonight. But clearly, I think the best hitter in this game is Camporeale. So if you want to get one guy against McGreevy, that makes some sense. He will get some ownership. Looks like around 10% per SaberSim. Again, we both think he is one of the better, if not the best, cheap pitching options. But I don't know. You're hoping from 10 to 15, right? Maybe that's enough, right? If we get the big bats to go off, but
yeah, the reason I just don't think, because there's just so much talent at the top today that it's unlikely. It happens.
If two of the guys go off, it's going to be tough.
That's it. You get two of these guys 25 plus, it's going to be real hard to get that. Even at 5,300 at 12, 13 points, really going to make it into the mix. But I mean, you see wacky stuff all the time. You see a pitcher score single digit points and somehow make it into the line. But we're not playing for the hopes of something wacky. But again, like I said, I'll be cutting him off. He won't be making my pool. But if you want to add a few, I think, like you said, he's probably the only option there, sub 6K, that I would consider.
Yeah, agreed. Let's go to the last game of the night. One of those sub 6K options, Kyle Freeland going for Colorado against the Dodgers, is going to be a pass for me. It sounds like you as well. Just very limited strikeout upside, and he's actually been okay away from Coors Field, but just not going to be the spot for me, at least with Kyle Freeland. And then Blake Snell, I do think is interesting here going up against the Colorado Rockies. He is coming off disappointing start against the Pirates. I did watch that game. Snell was very chalky on that day. It was the Skeens versus Snell day. It didn't work out for Blake Snell. We see it all the time with Snell, where he definitely has more disappointing outings than other pitchers priced in his tier, but the upside for him on a start-to-start basis is also as high as it gets. And obviously, matchup here against the Rockies, Snell got to be right in the mix. I've been pulling up the pitcher ownership as we've gone along here, stats, and it does look like the field is going to be very heavy on the good pitchers going today. And most of the pitchers have pretty good matchups too, right? It's just one of those slates where it seems to both of us, at least, that it is a slate to spend up on pitching for sure for the most part, and maybe entirely. I expect a big bounce back outing from Snell here, who I know the results they haven't been bad by any means for Snell. The metrics to me for Snell look like he is kind of right at his, dual Cy Young type of seasons, missing a ton of bats, still throwing a lot of pitches outside of the zone. That's just what he does. But I do think the other side of the coin is coming for Blake Snell, probably starting tonight. One of my top options for sure. Blake Snell, I assume you're similar. No interest in Freeland. And of course, looking at the Dodgers bats here, right-handed power in particular looks good, but you can play anybody against Kyle Freeland. I assume you are pretty high on the Dodgers here with me.
Yeah, pretty tough not to be. I would assume Snell. I don't know where they have it in Sabre. I'm going to assume he's going to be the highest owned. If he's not,
he's right there. I think with Gilbert, which makes sense to me.
Yeah, those have to be the two highest, and with good reason. People like to pick on Colorado, so there's that Colorado on the road. You've got the highest. I think you probably, like, if I was putting a market on it, who could score, let's say 35 between Gilbert and Snell. I think I would favor Snell slightly. So I think his upside is there because of that strikeout upside. He's just got tremendous. He's got the best K per inning here projected on this entire slate. You look in the betting market, he is at 7.5 Ks and just 16.5 outs though. See that? So that's the difference I think that you're getting. We're really looking for Gilbert to go deeper into this game in the markets. Snell, we're looking at 2 fewer outs in the betting market, but more Ks. So he can accumulate the Ks in a shorter period of time, in a less amount of innings, maybe than Gilbert, although he can go off as well. I think you're just looking at probably the difference between those two, maybe in the control, where Snell probably lacks a little bit of the control that Gilbert has. Gilbert's probably the best control pitcher on this slate tonight, right there with Pivetta. So I think that's the difference there. If he's got the control, can easily throw 35 points out there for us tonight. So that's why I'm really not on these cheaper pitchers, as we've been saying for most of the show. With that said, I mean, Colorado bats are just not even a question here tonight. Dodgers probably the highest owned, I would assume, here on this slate.
Looks like it. Yep.
They should be. If you look at the team total, you look at the team total stack sheet that I send out, they are the highest projected team total against Colorado. So there's very few bats here. Matter of fact, I'll take all the bats. We don't have that lineup out yet, but they're good to go. All 5-man stacks here for the Dodgers, whichever iteration of this lineup comes out. But the big bats for sure: Ohtani, Betts, Hernandez, Muncy, Freeman, Smith. Those guys all will be near the top on the Boom Report. And they're just going to be one of the highest owned stacks. So you're going to have to highest owned players in general will be those Dodger bats. You got to make that determination. Do you want to get over on the Dodgers bats here? I think you could actually, I think this is one of the few slates where I like a few, just a few stacks, and I like just those few pitching. I think I could really narrow it down. We'll see how that plays out, but I don't mind narrowing down my stacks here tonight and the pitchers, and hopefully getting the right combination of those in the 150 build. But I think you can limit it to 3 or 4 or 5-man stacks with those 4 or 5 pitchers and roll the dice.
Yeah, Dodgers will get, it looks like Tommy Edman back in the lineup, missed some time with injury, but yeah, crushes lefties. And I mentioned this when Max Muncy came back, I don't know, a month ago or so, missed some more time with injury, but sometimes you get, depending on when the Dodgers lineup comes out, you might get someone like Tommy Edman, who is still listed with the IL tag on DraftKings at lower ownership than he should be. So could be a sneaky play there. Tommy Edman, someone I'm looking at. It can obviously always pivot if he's not actually in the lineup, but maybe a little edge to take advantage of there. Stats, it sounds like we are pretty arm in arm at pitcher today, which I do think, is not going to be a unique take. It does look like most of the field pulling up ownership here on the pitching will be going with the studs. Who are you leaning? We got the ownerships here. Again, a ways before lock here, but Saberson does have Snell as the highest, Gilbert second, Pivetta third, Sale fourth, Rodon fifth. I do think those are the 5 pitchers that both of us are mostly considering on the slate. What about if we take these ownerships at face value? They just updated again. Snell actually jumped a little bit higher. Who do you think is the best play if these numbers come true? Snell 40, Gilbert 35, Pivetta 30, Sale 20, and then I guess they moved Rodon down to 14% here.
They're all obviously really close, and my model's in line with what the ownership is there. But I would say Sale really offers a pretty good GPP opportunity at his ownership. You're going to pay up, and that's probably leading to it against the Cubs as well as leading to a little bit less ownership. So it's not the best matchup compared to maybe what Snell and Gilbert have, or Pivetta for that matter. But I think with his upside, if I was playing a single, I didn't want to use that term on today, but if I was taking one shot at it,
you shouldn't use that one either. Stats.
I didn't even think about it. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, no, I think Sale is the I think Sale's the guy I would throw in there, and then I think for me it would be Sale and Snell as my two favorite options. But I really like all those top 4 pitchers, and then I'll throw Rodon in there to get a little mix of him.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, these ownership numbers could be jumbled a little bit. I wouldn't take base too many decisions on those. I do think it'll probably end up even closer than it appears, but I'll have the same answer. I think Sale, if we do get him as the 4th highest owned pitcher, and at least by these projected ownerships, significantly lower than Snell, Gilbert, and Pivetta, to me, he looks like the best tournament option to me. Actually, Snell and Sale is probably the combination that's going to be in my own core after the show, but I wish I had more to add. I think these numbers, like you said, look pretty good. I guess take your pick between these top options and go from there, right?
I think so. I'd be very surprised. Well, I don't. It's DFS. We've been doing this long enough. Yes. I don't think it really gets surprised by anything. But I will be surprised, obviously, since I'm not going to be playing it, if we get someone outside of those top 5 and who make it in there. So I think 2 of those 5 have to make it into the winner tonight.
I'm with you too. Give me the expensive pitching on this slate. Let's talk about stacks. Who are you looking at as your top 3 stacks tonight? Stats.
Yeah, I think it's fairly easy. Again, easy to pick. We'll see how easy it is to come out. But the Yankees and the Dodgers for sure here tonight I think are the two best stacks. Then I think that 3rd and 4th, it's close. I like Toronto and I like Atlanta. So I would throw those 2 in there really close. So those would be my 4 favorite stacks here for tonight.
I'm with you on the Yankees. Ownerships have updated here at SaberSim, and still they've got very few people playing the Yankees. We're going to be both over the field on these low numbers if they come in anything close to that. Dodgers, hard not to like the Dodgers against Freeland and the Rockies bullpen. And then I'll throw in as my third the Atlanta Braves, who you did mention as well. Like their chances here against Jamison Tyon. Feel pretty good about this Brave stack tonight. That's all 7 games, pitching and hitting. Let's jump over to a quick pick 6 as I swap over the screen shares here. And yeah, we'll get that going. Stats, you have somewhere to start with pick 6 tonight.
Oh, I do. Let's see. I'm going to go with one that one of those stacks that we like, and that's Toronto. You know, I like the hit run RBI. I'm going to go with Varsho to the over on his hit run RBI 1.5.
All right. Varsho over hits runs RBI. Oh, love it. Love the lefty. There you go, Stats. Buying into the splits for once, or at least the props are. I love that on Varsho. In on that. I think Chris Sale's going to mow tonight. Pick 6 doesn't want us to bet on Chris Sale, though. So I guess we will pass on that one. Who else? What were the other? Pivetta? What about Pivetta outs?
Pivetta outs. Where's that number at?
Don't have it. They got strikeouts. Yeah. I don't love those options, to be honest. You got somewhere else to go next?
Let's see. I got a game that we don't have on this slate. Yeah. It'll be on the other one, but Skeens, I'm going to go under his strikeouts. Let's go less than the 7.5.
You know, the over Skeens strikeouts is going to be a popular pick there. So we don't talk too much about getting contrarian in pick 6, but it does have, I think, some merit overall. Like that pick with Paul Skeens. Let me jump to see some of these Braves bats. I like them against Tyon. Matt Olson, over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, feels pretty good to me. I'll throw that one in there and then throw it back over to you, Stats, for your next pick.
Well, I think Nice Kevin appreciates that pick. If you saw his comment, yes. Apparently he's got a lot riding on Olson here tonight. So I think he's with you on that one. Let's see here. Let's go. I'll give you another wacky under here.
Gleyber I love Torres. The wacky stats picks.
Gleyber Torres under his hits, runs, RBIs 1.5.
All right, betting against Gleyber Torres.
We got to get some unders because when we hit this, it's going to be better than the number. We're going to get at least 20x here. So
that's right. We'll get Gleyber Torres in there. Can I get the lefty Alvarez in here over 1.5 against Barrios? Feels good to me. No approval from Stats. I'm throwing it in there. Anyway.
No. I'm just trying to get another one. It's a weird one. I don't have a ton that I love here today. So let's go. Let's see if I can get I was hoping to get a good strikeout one, but I don't really like any of the strikeouts. All right, let's go with. I'm going to stick with this Toronto one. We kind of like that stack. I'll take Alejandro Kirk to get one single over. I like the singles.
It doesn't tell you Stats when they
it does tell me when they hit 2 doubles and a home run, but yeah. You bet enough, and you got to let that stuff kind of roll. I had one, like, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago.
Rafaela hit a double.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, he had like 3 hits and homer. I'm like, oh, look at it. I just looked at the box score. I'm like, oh, sweet, hit that one, and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch, all extra base hits.
I don't have the best memory these days, but I don't know why.
Yeah, that was very good. Yes, you had it.
That was right.
You nailed that one.
Yeah. We'll take Kirk to hit a single, and hey, unlike Rafaela, he's probably not legging out the double to kill the single parlay. So we should be.
That gets weighed into the numbers.
Yes, exactly. Kirk, I'm going to go ahead and assume some of the lowest sprint speed of any player in MLB.
Oh,
Stats will call it a little bit early on this show. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for this baseball show. No show on Thursdays. We've got plenty of NFL content on Thursdays on the Run Pure Sports channel. Check that out, of course. And then Fridays, me and Boynton will be back for some Friday night fireworks. But for now, that'll do it. For stats, I'm DC. We're out of here.